Son of Souls, a really important game for you to win tonight with Liverpool extending that gap to 9 points yesterday. What was your thoughts on that? I know, Brandon, you got to shoot because you got work in the morning, mate. Top man. We'll chat to you again soon, brother. Souls, what did you make of today's game? The victory, no Saka, etc.
No, look, I think when you look at the grand scheme of how Boxing Day fixtures have gone for the past few seasons, they have been a bit more exhilarating and more thrilling than they have been this season. We're seeing a competitive Premier League that we've not really seen for many seasons before. For me, look, is it our best performance? No. But was it a good performance? Yes. It was definitely a solid performance that's shown that we can take control of situations. We've seen it today, like Kai Havertz, is a low block unlocker, someone who can make those positional changes that unlocks a lot of movement and changes in the back line to actually get us opportunities. Now, whether the quality within the wingers and the fullback is there to actually, execute that's a different story. But we've seen it, Havertz had at least 2-3 opportunities where the ball just didn't get to him. And if it had, this game could have been different. You've seen it from Arteta on the sidelines as well, asking for the urgency to increase. We could actually hear it on TV for the first time. He was literally screaming at the top of his lungs to the point where the commentators took notice as well. So this idea that Arteta isn't releasing the handbrakes is a myth. Now, you can question the players and whether their mentality is there to actually keep attacking teams like this. But the reality is the manager isn't setting them up for a 1-0. He wants to go for the 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, or whatever it ends up becoming. Now, what Hussam is saying, there's partial truth to what he's saying as well. These kind of games where you win 1-0 can show signs of champions because you're going to struggle. There are going to be games where you win 1-0 and you just got to go and take the 3 points and just move on. There are going to be games where you win 5-0, 6-0. There are going to be games where you win 1-0, 2-0, 3-2, and you've got to fight. There's going to be games where you have to win a 90th minute winner. All of these factors, right? If you can do it and execute it. Now, when it becomes a problem is if this is a weekly occurrence. If we're scraping by and we're winning 1-0 every single week, then yes, we can shout for concern. What you've also got to understand is how Ipswich are set up. They set up in a very, very deep, nasty low block. That's not going to give you a lot of opportunities. Now, yes, we can be, and we can manipulate that situation tactically to move the ball quicker, to do all of these sort of different things. But it's also a flip side to it. There's still another half of the season to go. Use the opportunity where, by the way, they had 0.1 XG. Take the opportunity to just put your foot off the brake and not press. We've got a game on Wednesday. We've got to play Brentford and then Brighton. They're going to be 2 very tough games. Regardless of their league positions, they can cause a lot of opportunities to score, a lot of threat. That can turn into a nasty game as well. But what we're going to see against the likes of Brentford and Brighton is more opportunities and more spaces to open them up. That's when I want to see us be more clinical. Games like Ipswich, I'm expecting to be a 1-0 or a 2-0 or a very tight game where the games aren't going to be exciting. But today, I saw a tactical side of our game, which I actually quite like to see, which is just slow it down, keep the tempo, keep control. There was opportunities for Ipswich to transition because a lot of people were saying it in Crystal Palace's game where they looked dangerous on the transition because Kai Havertz is coming to midfield. That didn't happen today. And I said it to you, Thomas Partey, if you're going to play Kai Havertz, you can't play Thomas Partey. You have to play Declan Rice. He offers a bit more defensive solidity, which is what we're seeing today. Now, if you want to play Moreno and Partey, that can work. But Kai Havertz and Partey just won't work together. Now, yeah, like I said, if we go into Brentford and we also have a performance like this, that's when I can understand the criticism. That's when I can sit back and go, you're all valid for doing that. We needed to capitalize on the fact that Chelsea dropped points and we can go second. We did that. Now, the unfortunate thing is Leicester couldn't hold on to the 1-0 and make it a draw or a loss. Now, if they did, that would have been a bigger opportunity. But we've got to keep the pressure on Liverpool, and that's what this game does. Because they're now looking at it and going, they've won again, they've won again, they've won again. And that's what we need to keep doing is when they have to think, you know what, we need to keep this pressure on, they're gonna start to falter as well. And I've always said it, I do think we'll catch them. But we can't do that unless we keep winning our games.
And also, why are people surprised? It's the first game without Bukayo Saka. And newsflash, people, you think we're going to play the exact same way? You think we're going to create the exact same amount of goals? You think we're going to create the exact same amount of chances versus Ipswich, versus anybody? Bukayo Saka coming out of the team, these guys are going to have to find some way to adjust. And we're going to need Gabriel Jesus, Gabriel Martinelli, Leandro Trossard, Kai Havertz, some of these players to step up in the meanwhile, because if Bukayo Saka is going to be out for 2 months, these guys are going to have to carry the load. They're going to have to carry the water from the watering hole and get us some of those goals, because we're not going to have the luxury of having Bukayo Saka being able to step up every single game. So at least one of them on a game-to-game basis need to step up, and we can try to weather the storm. But right now, it's going to be an uphill battle, and all this stuff about the title race and everything else. You know what? It's nice, but we need to just at least see if we can get ourselves going with this team and this group, and we can't be looking too far ahead. Just take it game by game, calm down, and this whole thing about today's performance, it was not a great performance, but we end the year with the most points, most goals scored, most everything in like Arsenal's history in a calendar year. So it shows progression. We just need to continue to improve, and our defense is what we're going to have to lean on. Don't be surprised that Arteta leans on our defense. And yeah, Terry, I see you smiling, but the reality situation is
no. I'm smiling at Sam. I'm smiling at Sam because when you said about the most points, because I actually read that stat earlier. It came up on, I think, AFC stuff, where in 2024, Arsenal have had the most wins. I think it's 25 wins or 26. The writing's pretty small. Most points in 2024, most goals scored, least conceded, best goal difference in the league. And I started laughing because I was going to ask Sam the question based on what Igal just said. Is that why you see Arsenal as the favourites?
Yeah, listen, people. But first of all, I don't know why people are shocked. I was literally on the Liverpool match reaction yesterday before a ball was even kicked. And I said Arsenal are favorites yesterday. You won today. Why the fuck would I change my mind based on the fact that you won? People can call it gaslighting.
Why do you think Liverpool are going to drop off?
People can call it gaslighting all that they want. Listen, at the end of the day, Arsenal today's performance, if they can replicate this another 15 times, they're going to win the league. That's just the reality.
No, but why do you think Liverpool are going to drop off? Because Liverpool would need to drop off.
Liverpool. Listen, it's not about that. I just think Arsenal's football is more sustainable.
No, but Arsenal maintain this.
You have a stronger
Arsenal
defense.
maintain this.
I haven't scored today. So you're not the guy who's
Now I sense a bit of sarcasm.
Wow, shiver me timber, 6 points ahead. That's so difficult to catch up.
Okay, by the way, talking about Timber, can we talk about Miles Lewis-Skelly?
Well, that was one of my next questions. Let's hear from George. Says Lewis-Skelly was on smoke tonight, played really, really well. I did want to ask you, Miguel, and the rest of the group. I mean, you bought a number of fullbacks in the last couple of summers. A lot of them have injury problems, but this young man looks as though he's got a tremendous amount of talent, Miguel.
Honestly, I'm not even going to get into the mismanagement of transfer funds, because if I'm telling you right now, if Arteta could somehow get Alphonso Davies, he would still sign him. So to me, it just seems like we're constantly looking to address that left back situation. But Miles Lewis-Skelly right now looks like he's taking that by the scruff of the neck and saying, you know what, this position could be mine. I'm going to try to run away with it. He's had a couple good games. Defensively, he's been good. On the ball, he's been quite good. And I just feel like at this moment in time, he just needs to continue to do what he's doing at the age of 17. Sky's the limit. And Terry, no matter how much money we invest in that left back situation, until we get it solved, I like the fact that the club continue to try to address that situation. And maybe, hopefully, they can start doing that in the attacking third, because we need to have that level of commitment to trying to improving positions across the board, not just in our defense.
Look, I think as well, I saw a lot of Gooners tweeting during the game around, shouldn't have bought Calafiori, should have spent the money on an attacker, because of how impressed they are with Lewis-Skelly. I understand that logic. At the same time, he's very young and he's inexperienced, and he's looked good as soon as he's come into the team. And I know that the adage of if they're old enough, they're good enough, but I still think there has to be an element of, and what I mean by this is a lot of the same Gooners that are saying, just put him in. Why do we buy Calafiori? We should have just played this kid. Are the same guys for the past 18 months that have said we've given Saka too much game time from a young age and now he's burning out, but yet they almost want to start that process all over again with another young player. It's unfortunate that you've had so many fullbacks that have been out injured, but you need to bleed it. You need to bleed him in right. I don't think it'd be correct to go, right, let's get rid of most of our left backs. He's going to become the number one at such a young age, because we've seen some players. Listen, I'm not saying it will happen because he looks very good. We've seen a number of players start good and fade. We've seen others that start okay and get better over a period of time. Not everyone's going to do what Saka did almost from day one, look the part at the highest level. That's very, very rare. But overall, I think he looks very, very talented. And the good thing for him, he's built like a man already. He's built like a geezer already, which is very, very important, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's two other things to add to it. There's horses for courses for games as well. Like, not every game's going to suit Miles Lewis-Skelly. There are going to be games where he's going to get exposed just because he's young and inexperienced. He may not be able to handle those world-class wingers such as your Salahs and stuff like that when he comes across them. So he does need someone who's older and been there and been experienced to kind of tutor him through those moments as well. The one thing that Saka's kind of been hampered with in his development is not having someone in front of him who can teach him, like, look, when you get double teamed, this is what you need to do. When you get triple teamed, this is what you need to do. When you get to these sort of situations, this is what you need to do. And thankfully, we do have a Calafiori now. He's not the most experienced, but he has been there in the Euros, been in the national teams, etc. So he's going to have a bit more of a know-how how to handle certain situations. He's got Yuri and Timbers, for example, as well, who can kind of guide him through it. So I do think like having someone in front of one of your academy players is a vital thing to have and good for his development.
Yeah.